Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Manufacturing Transformed. Today, we have a great episode with Gioni with end-to-end manufacturing. And when someone like Gioni says they sleep better at night because of your product, you know you have done a good job. And that is the way we started. Well, actually, it was about 13 minutes in. He said that. But this is a great episode. Gioni was a fairly typical shop dealing with an ERP that was not a good fit, a QMS that was too cumbersome. And he said he had dreamed of a product which ultimately was just what ProShop was. So, and for him, it was a dream come true. But I love this episode for so many other reasons. Gioni is just a really humble, candid guy about what it's like being a shop owner. We get into all sorts of good topics, and I really appreciate what they're doing. It's really kind of interesting the pivots that he's done over the years with the businesses overseas, doing some of the die castings and the other types of manufacturing they do over there. So fascinating guy, fascinating business, and it's a great conversation. So enjoy. Gioni, welcome to the podcast. I'm glad to have you here.
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I am doing super well. I'm excited to talk to you. So thank you, first of all, for volunteering to be on the show. We had posted, I think, in the ProShop client forum, and you just raised your hand and you're like, I got things I want to tell you about. So
I'm in there.
let us start with a bit of your background and the background of end-to-end manufacturing.
Thanks, Paul. So my background, I'm a mechanical engineer, but I think maybe before that, I had manufacturing, I guess, in my DNA. My father was an old school tool and die maker back from, the 60s, Tool and Die Institute in Chicago, and through the 70s. And then in the 80s, we moved out to California when I was a kid. And he, was a tool room manager out here at a company, stamping. And I'd work in the summer times, tool room grunt and, cleaning the floors and maybe machining parallels, that kind of stuff. But, just started getting exposed to, the smell of oil, coming home at night and your dad comes home and he smells like machine oil, but he doesn't notice it, but you notice it as a kid. And then,
for sure,
and probably maybe my kids smell it now. So then, went to college, get a mechanical engineering degree, and then started in manufacturing again, helped a company start up their tool room. They were doing sheet metals and they wanted to get into tooling here in Fremont, California.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided to. At that time, there was a lot of stamping in Silicon Valley. There was a lot of stamping manufacturers back in the 90s, and so we started a tool and die design firm. So we were designing with AutoCAD and a software called Striker, I think it was, to design progressive stamping dies. And there was quite a lot of business, and it was three of us. And in engineering, the revenue is basically you on the computer. If you're not on the computer, you're not making money. So, at some point in the late 90s, a lot of the stamping left the Bay Area and in California, in country in general. So, kind of went into a different field, and we started a manufacturing company in 2000. So E2 manufacturing has been around for about 25 years.
Okay.
And we started off, our first clients were, we have, tool and die makers on our team and automation engineers. So we were doing automation equipment for hard drive companies here in the Bay Area.
Oh, wow.
It's a tough business, we would help design the automation tooling and, make the first prototype tools. And, it's tough when you make the first one and then, you have more opportunity when you start replicating, right? You start, I need 50 of them, 20 of them. That was a tough business. So then we pivoted to the fiber optic industry. So pluggable transceivers. So I started doing design for pluggable transceivers. And at one point, we were the de facto kind of housing for the industry.
So you would design them and then you'd manufacture them, machine them
in-house? Exactly. We'd come with a whole solution, right? So we started facilities in Taiwan and Malaysia where we could do die casting with the zinc components and the release mechanism. And then we would help fiber optic companies shoehorn their electronics into the form factor and we would have prototype tooling already set up so we can get, they would have die cast parts like within weeks. So then, that business was good for a while. Again, that business was competitive worldwide, right? So tougher and tougher. Now, our facilities here in Fremont, during that period of time, we were doing a lot of prototypes, all like, just NPI stuff. And we never looked at it as a standalone profit center. It was the opportunities of making quick prototypes so then we can get to production and do the castings and parts in our facilities in Asia. But over the last almost 2 years, again, we pivoted to the facilities here in Fremont. We're getting into production parts. So, it's been a cultural change, to especially management and our employees, from, I don't care if we lose money on that job on the floor here in Fremont, as long as we're going to get production later on. Right. And now it's no, we need to look at each job and see, be very competitive with our customers and, deliver quality parts on time. And to do that, we need process, right? And procedures. So it's been a cultural change over the last 2 years here. And ProShop's part of that. So we're excited about it.
Very cool. So is it more job shop type work where it's your customers' designs, whereas in the past you were working in the design realm to help with these housings and other things like that?
Yeah, no, we're job shop.
Okay.
So what the capabilities we because of my tooling background and my business partner's tooling background, we have a lot of wire EDM machines. So we used to use the wire EDMs to make our stamping dies, right, and make all the punches and die blocks and strippers and everything. Right. But now we use it for components, and so our niche, we can make smart parts, down to half of your fingernail size. Right. And then, the 20 by 40 piece of aluminum. So our niche is, even we call hybrid for us. It's like, it's machined, but also there's wire EDM features, right?
Sure.
Where, let's say flexures, or there's medical components that we manufacture that are implantable that, require EDM. And EDM, you can, with small parts, orthogonally, you're just approaching the part that way, right? You can do like 20 in a row and then you rotate it 90 degrees and then slice them off. And then maybe they need a second a milling operation after that. We do a lot of tight tolerance. Our whole team, we're always fighting tenths of an inch. Cool. We work a lot with Inconel, high nickel. And very, very tough. It took us about 4 or 5 years to figure that out. Yeah. And then we just started getting into mill turn machining. So, which has been blow mind of how we can actually manufacture parts. So we look at things totally different. So.
Yeah. Are you making parts that aren't even traditionally a lathe part, but you're doing them on the mill turn because you can automate the bar feeding and the milling of all the features?
Oh my God. We have a production part where we would, before the mill turn, we would go from the lathe to the mill, back and forth 6 times, right?
Oh my gosh, 6 times.
And every setup is a potential for catastrophe. Absolutely. And the piece of the raw material is $4,000, right? Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
So wow. So you were cautious, we were slow, we were always late. And once in a while we'd have a non-conformance. So with the mill turn, we prep the material on this conventional CNC lathe just so we don't consume the time on the mill turn. And now 95% of the part is done in one setup on the mill turn. So,
amazing.
But our team really wasn't, one guy kind of used the mill turn before. The machine we ended up buying, their application engineers, they were out here for 3 months training us. So a complicated machine and, involving macros and in-process inspection, the Renishaw probe. But now it's humming. It's just going. And we're on time and things are running smooth. I mean, it actually...
Probably better margins too.
Yeah, well, it's a more expensive machine. So,
Sure, of course.
yeah, a little bit, not tremendous amount, but it's more about delivering for the customer and being able to say, I can do this many a month, right? And we're doing it. Yeah, and then actually we're to the point where we can walk away from the machine for 4 to 6 hours and trust it. And usually Inconel jobs, you're hovering over that red button,
Yeah, for
waiting for something
sure.
to go wrong. So yeah, it's been a great. My team did a fantastic job embracing it, and the application engineers that worked with us were amazing.
Well, as a side note, remind me to introduce you to Nick Golnertz. You might be a great guest on his Lights Out podcast, where he talks to shops and talks about the whole lights out machining process and what it took to get there and what are the things you overcame to get that reliable runtime.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll do that. So give us a snapshot of end to end today. Number of machines, people. You obviously a bit diversified in your industry base, but just what kind of size are you guys?
Yeah, so we're in Fremont, California, a little bit outside Silicon Valley. We have we're not tiny, we're not large. So we're 11,000 square feet here, 7 CNC mills, 3 of them 5-axis, 3 CNC lathes, mill turn, 7 wire EDMs, EDM hole poppers, quality lab, right? 2 CMMs. And then in Taiwan, we do zinc die casting.
Oh, you still have that facility? Okay.
Yeah, we still do that. And then in Malaysia, we have facilities where we source to other manufacturers, and we have a quality team where parts come in and then distribute to large contract manufacturers like Foxconn, AJ Bell, and Celestica, right. And those guys delivering to to them for their OEMs.
Right.
Yeah. So we kind of we say the end is like we get involved with the NPI stuff here, and then try to help the engineers design cost out early. Because if they're going to go to volume, like some of our medical accounts, depends where they're at. If they're at the very beginning, and or in the middle, or after FDA approval. Right. So it depends where they're at. And if they have the opportunity, it's like, let's change this now. Let's do it now, because they're going to start making 1,000 a month. It's going to be costly and very difficult. So, so that's where we get to get involved with the NPI. I think that's where we're most successful. And then strategically align ourselves and build a partnership with that customer. So then, we can grow on their coattails, right? With that MPI, and then during the MPI, you grow that knowledge of the product, right? And then at some point when it goes into mass production, there's always the supply chain manager is always going to have competition come in, right? And and if we're involved with the MPI, we have history. We know we can make this part confidently at this price, and make if we need to. So that's kind of where we focus.
Cool. And how many folks are at your Fremont facility?
We have 30 right now.
Okay, right on. Nice size shop. So let's go back a little bit and paint the picture of what was going on. What was like some of the challenges you were facing when you decided you needed some different software?
Oh my God. Yeah, this is it's such a, it just warms my heart. You have no idea how good I've been sleeping these last 4 weeks. Oh. So let me back the truck up a little bit. So we were doing this prototype opportunity with a large medical account in Silicon Valley, and we got the opportunity from people that we knew, right? Engineers that move around, and it's a simple. It's a packaging solution. And I know this sounds silly, but they're shipping a product, and their product is dead on arrival. 70% of the time going through FedEx, and this product.
Oh my gosh!
This product is 6 figures. And
what?
Yeah, and it's it looked like the package engineers did their best, but our engineering team said, I think we can design something pretty cool. And so it took about from day one till we said, okay, this is it. All right. They approved it. They tested it. It took us about 8 months, about 4 or 5 prototypes. They would drop test it. They had all the testing facilities there, drop tested on every corner, vibration to simulate shipping. And it worked. And I was like, oh, cool. But now how do we get purchase orders? Because we're not on their AVL. And this account, it depends on the account. To get on their AVL it's like moving them out, right?
Sure.
They're very, very selective. And so, I mean, the first orders actually had to go through another company that was on the AVL. So that's how bad they needed it, right?
Sure.
And they would mark it up. So, it wasn't cost effective for them. So then they said, okay, we want to come out and we want to do a 2-day audit. And I said, oh, great. This is the next step, right? When you get a customer NDA, whatever, depends on the customer, but this one's like, okay, we really need you. We're going to come do an audit. So their supply quality engineer came out, and this gentleman was fantastic in regards to being thorough, but also coaching during the audit, which I truly appreciated. And he said it from the first minute, said, listen, I'm going to coach, but I'm also, if something's wrong, right? So after the 2 days, going through our old, quality manual and our ERP and going on the floor and seeing the travelers and the prints and all the paper everywhere, we ended up with 3 major scars. So basically that in their world, that meant that we're conditionally approved for a year, and you've got to hit these milestones, fix this, fix that by this date, and then also 3 months later, show me evidence, and then in December of this year, they'll come back and then do an audit. So if we do that, then we're in. In this account, Paul, we know it would be a great fit for both companies. We can make those kind of parts that they're consuming. So at that point, I had a decision, right? We had a quality manual that basically was a bunch of Word documents, Excel files, forms on the server that nobody, hey, guys, we need to do an NCR. It's like, where's the file? Go and there's Esther and pull it up, and then it's a Word document. I don't have them even like Adobe-ized, if you will. It's just like a Word file, and then another Excel file with a document number. Okay, and then how are you going to remind yourself to close this thing, right? I mean, it's just so cumbersome. And I felt so bad for my team about it, because it's like they want to do these processes and they want to do these procedures, but just it's not friendly, right? And it consumes so much time to actually just do that grunt work to find files and fill them out that they just like wouldn't do it, and it was difficult. So
sure.
But I had an ERP system that I've been using for 15 years or so, and we spent time and cleaned it up. We just like any ERP, it's how you use it, right? And we weren't using it very well, so there was a lot of garbage. And for my accounting team to close the month back like 4 years ago, it would take over 1.5, 2 months to close a month, just because because the data in the ERP was just not true, and it was so tough for them to close. They're doing Microsoft Access, pulls from the SQL, and and then going, is this right? And then I have to audit it all the time, and it was just like, oh my God. So but we did spend time for about 7 months and cleaned up the database, and it got better. We were able to close a month, within 2 weeks of that the month. So so it got better. So I had a database that was somewhat clean, right? But again, I had 2 things, and so I had a decision, Paul. I'm like, after the audit, I was like, do I get a consultant in, because our team doesn't have time, and revamp our quality manual, because it's not saying what we do and doing what we're saying at all, because it really hasn't been modified in 10 years. Do I get somebody in and do that? And at the end of the day, end up with a bunch of files on the server that nobody really wants to use, and then I was like, I've always been dreaming, Paul, and yeah, you're like my dream come true. Sorry. It's like for years I've been dreaming, why is there some software that has them both in, the ERP and the QMS together and it's web based. And then also like little things like where, we're doing setups on the machine and it's like the next time we get the job, it's like we're starting the job over again. Unless that guy that set it up last time is here. I mean, that's where we were. And I go, how can I can't get this to a production facilities with that, right? I started looking at, there's little softwares you can buy that help with setup, there's pictures and, but then it doesn't integrate with the ERP. And I'm like, this is all Band-Aids and I got smart sheets and Excel files everywhere. So over the weekend, I was like, there's gotta be something out there. I think I just haven't. And then I was Googling a lot about quality manuals and stuff like that. And then ProShop came up and I started looking at the website and you guys do a great job, by the way, of all the videos and the content everywhere to really understand what you guys got. In the beginning, I'm like, man, this just looks like a quality manual, software. And I'm like, wait, it does a hell of a lot more. It does like everything that I really need. I go, how do I do this? So yeah, that started in, I think November of last year.
Okay.
And then that's how we got to the point of like, we want to do this and we wanted to do it for our customer, the opportunity. But also just to improve our company, and be able to showcase what we're doing to our current clients and potential new clients.
So what you're getting at there is something that I've been sort of banging the drum about for years, and that is your business management system, right, which encompasses your QMS and your ERP and your MES and all the different things. That can be a significant sales tool to really show, these high level OEMs that care about stability and quality and performance, that like you're just not, running around like chickens with your head cut off behind the scenes, but you got these bulletproof systems.
Yeah.
It sounds like you that resonated with you, or at least that you had that idea of yourself. Like, this is how I need to present my company to these potential customers in the future.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We had an opportunity about 2 months ago with the large semiconductor company local. And we bid on a project and our pricing from this facilities was in line with with what they're getting the parts from, and they were excited to maybe do some business with us. But I held back. This was like 2 or 3 months ago. I held back. I go, wait, let's wait till we get everything in here, get some routing done, right? Get all the IPC done, written descriptions, everything. We just, I think 2 days ago, I put a television on the floor with the job progress, thing rolling. People are logging in. And then, I have computers everywhere, every machine, 2 screens. It definitely, in regards to the sales side, it'll give a lot more confidence to a customer when they come visit and see what we're doing. Right. So, and it helps so many, every department of our business right now, every department.
I love that so much. That's great. So you kind of answered, what, when you started digging in, like what made ProShop appear different than what you were doing. And just let me ask maybe about your old system. What was it not well implemented and the database wasn't clean because of the design of it or the features that it lacked? Or tell me more about that. Just a poor implementation process?
Well, I think, originally, once you start off, and this is why I'm really diligent about with our team here. Hey, do it this way with ProShop right now because I don't want to build a database that's full of garbage. So in the beginning, we were not utilizing the software. Now the software, I know I'm throwing dirt on it, but we weren't using it correctly. It's part of our fault. And then the time tracking is it basically just saying, okay, I'm on this job, right? Okay, now I'm not on the job, right? There was no information to get to the operator, right? And no history. We would print out, a folder, a file, and then print out the prints, and then put the traveler and maybe write some notes, that, hey, this or that. And then it would go on the floor. Now, what's challenging, I think, with our facilities is that, we'll make 100 pieces, but those parts, they're going to go through the mill, the lathe, the EDM, deburr, value added assembly, inspection, all those points. So there's one traveler, and
Mhm.
we're and hey, we want to deliver, right? So we're not going to machine. First off, as machine, we're not going to sit there and have 100 pieces of the order. We're not going to sit there and only bring 100 to the next step, right? We're going to try to do one piece flow as much as possible. So
Sure.
and so where's the traveler? I don't know. Where's the traveler? Oh yeah, we're done with 10 of them. Okay, where's that traveler? Oh boy. Oh yeah, Joe's got it. Oh no, this guy's like I think our team would waste at least a dozen hours a week trying to find a traveler, right? So it's not just the logging in. I forget we were doing login for about a year, but it just got so cumbersome because where's the traveler? Oh yeah, if you don't have the traveler, I don't even know what job number it is. Now with ProShop, it's like, well, here's the machine. It's already scheduled. This is your job right here. I mean, if it, we do print out a one sheet, we find that one sheet kind of traveler with the QR code and a picture of the part and some
Great.
details on
Beautiful.
top of that.
Yeah.
That seems to work. But yeah, now it's like, okay, they go in ProShop. Oh, yeah, what's the part number? Oh, yeah, I can find the work order very easily, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, to go back to answer your question, there were, even if we use the software, to the nth degree, it just wouldn't be where I want it to be, right? In regards to manufacturing on the floor and getting
Right.
information to the operators for them to be successful. Right? That's the most
Yep.
important.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. It really is about providing the right information at the right rev at the right time to the people that need it to do their jobs well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And eliminate the waste of scrap and not knowing where tools are and not knowing what the work instruction is or where the G code is or not even knowing what work order is next. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Such a fundamentally simple concept, but hard in execution.
Yeah.
With other ways of doing it.
Yeah, Paul, when we started, our journey with ProShop, I think, last December, it was, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I want to get this thing rolled out within a couple months, 3 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember your team going, okay, that's the Gantt chart. I think it was like 3 months. And we worked intimately with Malcolm. I think I talked to him more than my wife these last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been incredible.
He's a good guy. He's
been incredible.
Guy.
He knows machining, he knows the software, and he knows the sweet spot. And he really took time to understand our business and our three silos of revenue and how can we do estimates for this silo, and this silo, how we can do the work orders for each one. So he knows our business as good as I know it almost. So he's been extremely helpful. But I got to the point, Paul, where it was like March or so, and we in the beginning we were thinking, okay, in regards to getting the data from the previous ERP migrated over to ProShop, we were saying, let's go down the road of letting the old ERP die in the vine and just enter new POs, let's say March 1st or something like that, right?
Right.
And then let the old orders die away on the old software. But then it was like, a lot of our maybe like 10 or 15% of our business customers place POs that go out for a year, that go out for 6 months. So okay, that we may have to transfer some of those over, physically to ProShop. But then talking more with my accounting team, we're like, how the hell are we going to close the month? Two softwares going on, because the ERP did have accounting, and ProShop, we work with QuickBooks, for the accounting, and we're like, oh my god, this is going to be a nightmare. Having two to, for at least 2 or 3 months. So, I said, I asked Malcolm, I go, can we migrate it over? And, he goes, well, let's try it. Let's do it. And it wasn't simple, Paul. It was not simple. As you know, the headers and everything, sales order, customer PO, right? Everything's all different between the software, but they mean the same thing. So I think it was, we're going to go, myself, Malcolm, and my controller, would meet and, okay, this is what we need to do. This is what we need data from the old ERP to get, to do CSV imports. And then, Malcolm also designed some API, is a little bit over my head, API with Python to fix things in there, I guess, once we do some of the migration. Yeah, it was really cool. So we're like, okay, let's do it. We're going to go live May 1st. We're going to pull the data Saturday morning because we know what data to pull. And Michael is our controller, do his CSV imports. Once he does that, then Malcolm on Sunday morning is going to go in there and do his API thing and do his final touch on it. And this is like for May, right? And, Sunday afternoon, I was looking at the data and I go, I don't, it's not there. We know what to do. I think there's some things wrong, right? And the work orders were not going to be correct. And I said, let's wait one more month. So at least we had that as like a test run, like we're going, hey, next time we're going to do it, we're going to knock it out of the park. So, June 1st, I think it fell on a Monday. I forget now, but, we did it, the same procedure over the weekend and, things went good. Paul, I just didn't want, when I went live, I know I'm going to have everything routed. It's impossible, right, for us to do that. But I didn't want to stop, manufacturing. I didn't want to stop inspection. Didn't want to stop shipping, receiving. Didn't want to stop invoicing. Right.
Right.
So,
of course.
So then we, all the work orders, we just made the routing very simple. Inspection, shipping, invoicing. Okay, at least we can get parts out. I didn't, and I just wanted us to be able to do our business right, daily, without, saying, no, we can't ship that because it's not routed yet. That's what I love about the flexibility of the software. It allowed me to do that, right? And I've got jobs on the floor. Maybe like half of them right now are fully routed and people are logging in, but the other half are not. But we're still able to ship, right? And over time.
So those are parts that were in process from the old system.
Yes.
That you had a bunch of steps done. You just needed to finish them out.
Right. And I wasn't, adamant about logging in, day one. If we can, let's do it. And then slowly, now things are getting routed. People are logging in. So that whole migration thing was very challenging. Okay, it was.
Yeah.
It was challenging.
Yeah.
And it took some time, but and now we're very comfortable with it. And also the integration with QuickBooks. I do wish you guys had the accounting package in there, but there's a couple wish lists I have. But I know there's so many things you guys are working on. It would be cool because we did have some issues with QuickBooks. But again, your team, a couple gentlemen, somebody in Vancouver, helped out.
Fernando.
Yeah, I think so, and helped out. Just like the packing lists and the invoice numbers were going in the wrong custom fields, and we ended up fixing it. So the first 2 weeks in there were a little challenging, but now things are dialed in. Yeah, but the whole migration, but it gave us a lot of time to like do a lot of training. Because we were still meeting with Malcolm, twice a week. Let's go over this again. Let's go over this again, and so we hit the floor running pretty good. Maybe taking that long was ended up being a blessing. Yeah, I don't know how reference how many other companies have gone through that process. It'd be interesting to find out. But
yeah, I think that's a bit longer than typical for your size, but I think the ones that do it quicker, quite honestly, they don't do the data migration. They say, well, for any new jobs, we're just going to build a fresh router that's as accurate as we know that it is, rather than hopefully having something that may be somewhat accurate in the old system and then having to band-aid, fix the mistakes or the omissions. And I know that we've had some stories. I think we even have a case study or a white paper about a client that same scenario. They were going to let the old jobs finish out in their old system. But actually I think it was the machinists after just like a few weeks are like, we don't want to work in the old system anymore. We want it all moved to ProShop immediately. Yeah. And so they just came in over a weekend and just like hammered out just building new routings for all the existing part numbers, checking off the boxes of things that were already complete, and said, all right, we're going to start Monday morning, on operation 80, in ProShop, and just go from there. Right. I still think, it sounds like your process was ultimately very fruitful and thorough and worked well for you. So
yeah.
I am curious to ask about the shop floor team. What was there? Were they scared of this change with getting rid of their paper travelers? Were they excited for it? We get all ranges of different different impressions or feedback.
No, that's a great question. I that was something I always thought about, and cultural change on that, and things are different. Yeah, so we had a history of logging in. So, guys were not, they were accustomed to it, but we stopped for at least a year. But once we started, showing them, how it's all web based, I think that right there was just the user interface. Majority of the guys are and ladies are they're younger than I am, right? And they grew up with, you know, uh, the web in their crib, so they're used to hyperlinks and getting into software and, moving tabs around and all that stuff. So there was like basically zero training on just user interface, which is important, right? You just took that off the table. You don't have to go in some kind of clunky database, So that part was cool. Then, the once they saw that, wow, I can pull up a print. Wow, I'm being told to, do in-process checks and handwrite it on a piece of paper and now put it into the computer. It's like, yeah, this is so easy, and we have guys on the floor that, adopted it very quickly, and they go around and they help our team members also. And I also onboarded what we call a shop coordinator, who I've been training over the last month or so to help with the routing, dialing it in, helping, so our manufacturing engineers who come up with these brilliant ideas of how to process this raw piece of material into something beautiful, I want them to continue to use their knowledge in just developing, the process. And this new person's able to help, document and put it in there. And once we set it up, take pictures, put all the steps in there, right? Put the IPC, setting up the operation. You guys have there's so many ways you can do it. We've migrated to just the written description. Okay. Seems to work for us. Taking pictures and a written description.
Yeah, it's a great spot for it.
And then down to the detail of like the NC code through the part folder. And, we have computers on every machine. So, the mills are not connected to the network. So they're USB from a little computer and plug it in. And then, it just like, it always bothered me. Like those little things are like, wow. So how many programs do you have on that controller? A lot. How do I know what's the right rev on that?
Of course. Danger.
Well, yeah, Joe knows. It's like, okay, if I ever get audited on that, goodbye, Charlie, right? I mean, so now it's like, okay, where's the NC code? It's there. Okay. And we label it with operation number or whatever, and they're able to just grab it. And then, in a month, I'm going to go to every controller and wipe it all clean. Just make sure we got all the old NC codes, the right ones, into ProShop. And then just have a process where you're just wiping clean that controller once you're done with it, because we got the code over here. So it empowered the operators. They're like, oh my God, this is so cool. Right. And we have guys operators who are really great setup guys. And then they also do programming, but it's not their day job, if you will. But when we're slow on the mill and we need some parts programming, they're great programmers. So they'll go on, and they're starting the program, and we're training them to get their information into ProShop, right? You know what I mean? The the beauty of the software is you guys understand machining, because when the programmer or the engineer is laying out a process to make this part, looking at the tolerances on the prints, and crazy Inconel material, you know, you have to understand the process, right? You do this feature now, there's no way you're going to hit that dimension down the road,
Sure.
right? And the print may not call that dimension, but it's a dimension you want to hold between the operations. And with IPC, there, it's like, okay, yeah, it's not a balloon number on the print, but this is the dimension I need you to measure, right?
Sure. You can add
And
your own.
control.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like that, those little details. And so our programmers, our engineers, and they're younger, and I tell them, I go like, man, now I see it's like you're playing a video game, right? They love video games, these young kids. So you know, it's like them playing a video game. Okay, I'm gonna route it. I'm gonna put the information here, put information here, and they just love it, because it's not that I don't want the operators to talk to the engineers. Of course, they got to talk, but they literally can work on a job. Like I said to them, my goal is that the operator doesn't ask you a question about the job. That means that you routed this thing correctly for the operator to make the part. Now, if we make a good part, it's a different story. But at least gave them the information to run with it, and now you can work, on the next part, and start laying it out and applying, that knowledge to the process, right? So, yeah, no, and it's only been a month, Paul. So it's like I can't wait for like the next quarter and the next year. So,
I love that so much. Yeah, we went through that same process when we started creating at our shop, when we were building ProShop originally. When we started building the features and the fields to put in the work instructions and our process development area to put in suggestions or troubleshooting you're having, we had to train our machinists. Like they would just, because our programming office was literally steps away from the machine shop floor, right? And they would just routinely just walk in there, and the programmers would have their headphones on doing their next program or whatever. And they're like, hey, I got a question about this job, or I have an idea, or this is, the retract plane is too high. And we were like, no, you need to go back to your computer, put it into the system, so we'll have it documented. And then we have a history of improvements you made or things you troubleshooted. And so you don't, and we don't want to interrupt, because what do they say about when you get interrupted in deep focus work, it takes you so many minutes just to get back on track. So the programmers were so much less effective when people are constantly, interrupting them about the job they're setting up or the job they're running or just an idea they had about something. And forcing, which is a little bit unnatural. You're like, why can't I just talk to them? Right. But when you look at it from that bigger perspective, it just unlocks so much efficiency.
It does. It does. It's not that you don't want them to talk. Communication is critical, but so like our programmers, when we get new projects, we sit down and we're like, okay, can we get some run times? This is a really good opportunity. Yeah, we can say it's this long for this operation, but hey, I think it's worth on this project. And you pull up Mastercam and let's just do a quick program and do a simulation, right? We want to get it dialed in on the numbers. And so they're getting pulled in all these different directions. It's not just programming; it's jobs on the floor, quality, right? I mean, oh my God, the part's not passing. Okay, and the parts that we're dealing with, with tents, when we get to the CMM, all our parts go through the CMM. By the way, all the prints now that we deal with are all GD&T, and there's only so much you can do, on the floor. So. And our customers, their incoming inspection are using CMM. So I'd say our important customers, we share programs with each other.
CMM programs.
So, oh yeah, because
that's cool.
When you're measuring profiles and you're trying to hit a profile of like 25 microns, with the 3 datums, how you measure it, you're going to get different numbers,
right?
So we get down to that detail. Our customers are like, okay, this is how we measure it. This is how you measure it. But like we find is like even though, you can double side tape a part down on CMM, okay, but when you're dealing with tense, you got to fixture that part down.
Yeah.
You got to fixture it down. And, our lab is controlled at like whatever 68. And we had a job the other day where, big chunk of Inconel, and it was going to go through the CMM, and it sat in QA office for overnight, and then they measured it and was out by a couple tenths. And we're like, "Are you sure? Because we're pretty sure it's not right." Ended up being the temperature moved it a couple tenths out of spec. Because unfortunately that night the lab got really cold. For some reason it got down to 60.
Oh, wow.
And so we're like, okay, let's get it back to like 70 degrees, 68. And then we measure it and it's in spec. So, going back to the engine, going back to the programmer, he's dealing with all that, right? It's not just programming. It's like, okay, why is it my program? What's going on? Is it the material? So if they can spend, less time on stuff that really, come on, what tools do we need? How's the setup look? All that information, the basic stuff before, we would just print out a piece of paper and it would float around in the traveler. And it also helps with between shifts also, right? There's information there for the next guy. One guy's in the middle of a setup and he leaves, and then the next guy comes in, he can see, okay, this is how we're going to set this thing up, right?
So you're running multiple shifts. That's cool.
Yeah. Morning and a swing shift. So.
Okay. Very good. So tell me about some of the other processes that have maybe improved already in the first month or so.
Yeah, no, one major one is purchasing, right? So we have 1.5 purchasing agents, let's just say, but one for full time, and they're great at what they do. They're fantastic, but they're not astute on what's an end mill. This material needs to be like this way, and precision ground, whatever it is. So the data to that has to be given to them correctly, right? And in the past, basically it's just a bunch of emails and okay, put it against this job number. In their previous ERP, we could put all that information in there, but then there's no trigger to the purchasing agent, right, to go buy it.
Oh, really?
Right? Well, we created some roundabout way to triggering it, but it was very cumbersome. Just in this last month with ProShop, we for example, this one production part in Inconel, we consume about $600 worth of tooling for each part.
Drills, yeah.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
that's a lot of tools.
Yeah, and they're the best tools we can get for the job. Been running for a long time, so it and it's okay. We have to make 20 of these parts. We know exactly these 12 tools we need and how many we need, right? So we have an Excel file and then email to purchasing, and then they go do their job and see where they can find the best price and delivery and all that. So we spent time on that because it was worth it, right? We went, I believe it was called the sequence detail.
Yep.
And we put all the
cutting
tooling
tools
in there.
Yep.
Yeah. And like, okay, this one we consume 2 per part, this one 3, all put that all in there. And we got an order, executed it. The engineer goes in there, like 2 clicks, putting the dates, the status dates on when he needs it. And we also had inventory, so it figured out how many we need to get.
Oh, nice.
These end mills are like $100 to $150.
Yeah,
so
it's not cheap.
So you don't want to buy way too much. So yeah, we went to purchasing and like
purchasing dashboard, right? Just popped
yeah,
up in there.
purchasing dashboard. Oh yeah, they check it all day, and boom, boom, boom. They wanted to go get multiple bids on it and get a full cart scenario with it and place POs and and then engineer can see like right away, okay, yeah, this is coming in this date, this is coming in this date, boom, boom, boom. It was like, oh my God, that probably, I don't know the number, but I've always heard of like the cost of a purchase order, right? The paperwork,
right?
$100, $150, whatever it is. And sometimes it's more, and that kind of stuff where you're trying to get different bids from different suppliers. It takes time, right? You email somebody and they'll call you back, whatever. But just the paperwork side just takes time. And to have that power of having that, okay, next time I get another PO, it's 2 clicks and we're cutting POs to the suppliers.
Yeah.
Saves a lot of time, a lot of headache, and it allows the purchasing agent to like focus on different things.
I've heard that, yeah, for sure. More strategic things, more relationship building with their vendors, more strategic management. Yeah.
Yeah. Even down to outside processing, right?
Mm.
We typically, during the estimate phase, we usually go get hard quotes on, the material and outside processing.
Yeah.
We have their standard lot charges and stuff like that, but a lot of our stuff is kind of exotic stuff. It's kind of like, we need to make sure with our vendor that they're okay with a certain price. So we send it out at that estimate phase, and they usually get the quotes back the same day or the next day. And we put that right away in the estimate. And then, the work order hits the floor, and, when we finalize the work order, the engineer's like, okay, got the price here. So then when that operation comes up for outside processing, oh, here's the quote. Oh, okay, just one click, cut a PO.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, I might have my shipping receiving guy cutting the PO for OSP just to save time. I mean, it's right there,
Right.
I mean, he doesn't have to go get bids. It's like, where was that quote? It's like on some email and searching subjects. It's like, oh my God. So we try to, we're trying to do everything early on, because I'm a true believer. The more you can put in early, from the quote phase to cash,
Yeah.
right? That is the most important part of the business and the paperwork, right? And when you're stumbling, from that quote to cash, and you're stumbling on stuff that is just like stupid, right? What's taking so long? Why didn't we send it to OSP, outside processing, yet? Oh, I don't have the quote. Oh, I don't have, our purchasing agent is sick today. I can't cut a PO. Well, I mean, now just like, here, press that button. And it's critical for business, man, for cash flow, right? I mean,
Right.
cash flow is always a challenge. And, once we get a purchase order, and then, get the cash from the customer, it takes a long time. And, I don't have to tell you, you're spending money during that whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And during that process, you need to pay your supplier before you even get the cash from the customers. And we have customers large customers that are net 90.
Yeah.
Right. And they won't budge.
So
and that's tough. It's tough,
of course.
and it's tough. And then, most of them are 60-30, but, but you know how it is. You're buying the material. You're paying for labor, right? You're paying for all the stuff. And so if you can get that, down a week or whatever, it just improves the whole entire business,
Mm-hmm.
on every work order.
So I know you're only really a month or just 5 weeks into going live, but one of the anecdotes that we kind of see that customers share with us when we do surveys or videos or things with them is we ask, what kind of throughput improvements, have you seen, and have you had any people or machines, and often the answer is no, same people, same, haven't sold any machines, but we're just seeing jobs go through faster and ship quicker and lead times be less. And sometimes they say that the improvement in just actual throughput on the shop floor, which turns into dollars invoiced, is like 25% more with the same everything. And I think what you were getting at there is like, we don't need to wait a day to cut this PO to the vendor. We can get that going faster, ship that out sooner, receive it more efficiently, get it shipped out to the customer on time versus being a week or two late. And just those cumulative things, and just the interaction with machinists and programmers and answering their questions and making sure the setups go quickly. Or you're reducing scrap rate because, you got a picture of exactly how this fixture is supposed to be set up. And so you get it right the first time instead of scrapping. Like, do you think that's like a possible future for you, is like significantly more throughput with the same people, same machines, just because like everything's greased and running more smoothly?
Yeah, 100%, Paul. Right now it's only been, a month, 5 weeks or so. And, but I just see just the guys on the floor, right? It's like, they know, how do I put this? They know they have targets to hit. Before, it was a traveler on a piece of paper. And, I really okay, you need to make, 5 parts an hour, right? And this is the target. Honestly, they didn't know. The operators didn't know, unless one of us said, "Hey, well, why is this taking so long?" Well, I had this problem. I had this issue. I had this issue. Oh, we quoted this. You got to make 5 parts an
That
hour.
wasn't clear
Well,
from the travelers
it
before.
wasn't clear. It's not fair. It's not fair to those guys, right? We didn't give them the information. Okay, this is your target. Now, it's right in front of you, right? This is what you need to. And if you're not hitting it, raise your hand. Let's figure it out. Maybe we underestimated it. The old story, right? Maybe the guy's not doing a good job at it either, right? Or the setup is bad. Maybe the program's bad. Let's find out the root cause of why we're not hitting these numbers. But yeah, no, I think I'll know that percent probably, in a couple quarters,
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard to tell at this time. And
Of course.
the big thing is on time delivery for me. And, it's always been a challenge to actually figure out that number. Sometimes, the debate about commit, the requested date and the commit date, which one do you use? And everybody wants like 95%, but we do in general a lot of high mix, low volume.
Mm-hmm.
High mix, low volume OTDs, it's difficult,
Sure.
and especially first runs, it's always going to take longer than you think. But I know damn well our team will deliver quality parts, but maybe a couple days late, right? But now we're going in weekly. We have a weekly production meeting where we pull up ProShop and we go through all the active work orders that we're making here in Fremont, and we look. Okay, it's due yesterday. What's going on, guys? And we. It's been about 3 weeks. We're doing this meeting. In the beginning, it was maybe a dozen of them, right? We're like, we're late here, guys. What's going on? This is the reason. Okay, if this is the reason, and we're going to be late, let's go change our commit date. And sales, go tell them. Let's tell them now.
Yeah.
The customer. I hate that too. I have a supplier that, I'm expecting a part today, and they haven't told me anything, and then you got to reach out to them and then say, "Where's my part?" And they're oh, we're running late, whatever issue it is. It's gonna be another week. Well, I wish I would have known this earlier, right? And this is what we're changing right now. Is like, okay, Monday. These are our new dates, guys. This is the best we can do. We updated in ProShop. This way, our systems and that we look at dashboards and everything looks a little more correct.
Yep.
And then we notify the customer, hey, you know what, we're running late, and this is the reason why. So having all that information at my fingertips is just so much easier to manage the floor, and then also just communicate with the customer, right, and be more realistic on OTD. But I'm excited to see. The OTD number looks kind of freaky right now because of the migration data.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in a couple quarters, I'll be able to answer that question a little bit better.
Yeah. And I predict you will not need to have that production meeting possibly at some point. Everyone will just, because I've heard that story time and time again,
Really?
right? You used to take 5 people for an hour every day or every week or whatever. And now it's like a quick 15-minute check-in, and it's just like, we're already talking about these things. We already adjusted things. We already let the customer know a week ago, or just like things just, with that visibility of everybody, everyone can work towards that goal of,
Oh, dude, we've always struggled with production meetings and setting the agenda. And, we used to have them every morning, for 15 minutes, all the department heads. Okay, what are we doing today? What are we shipping? Okay. Oh, and people would communicate, right? Moving this parts over. And, I I just got nothing out of it. Just it was like,
Sure.
all right, guys, this is, I just seemed like a waste of a lot of people's time, just because we're not giving them the information. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. I believe you're right. We're probably, we've done 3 of them, and the first one was an hour, second one was a half hour, and this Monday was like 15 minutes.
Oh, nice. Wow. It's that,
Yeah,
it's already
so
changing that fast. Yeah.
yeah, it might happen. Yeah,
That is
but
cool.
I still think we should all meet a little bit.
The one I'm thinking of was actually our very first software customer ever back in 2009, back when we still ran our shop. And he said, at the end we decided just to like catch up with each other because we all like each other, and we were kind of missing that interaction, even though we didn't need to meet about jobs. We're just like, hey guys, it's good to see you this week. What's going on? But yeah, it definitely just eliminated that really frustrating type of meeting where there's just a million fires and you're not sure what to prioritize and how to dig yourself out of that hole. But
yeah. I think our next, I've been waiting because there's so much new stuff my team's learning, and I believe in immersion is the best learning tool, right? And all the training videos you guys have are great and they're awesome. But once you start using it, you start going, okay, this is how it actually, this is what for us is how we're going to use it. Eventually, I think in the next month, we'll start really utilizing the schedule section.
Yeah.
We are routing it to a specific machines right now. Slowly, we're doing that.
Yep.
But right now we're doing a simple Excel file. Not the end of the world because we don't have 50 machines. So, but yeah, no, definitely it's going to get there within a month or two. I'm excited about that because it helps with our sales department, right? Because we have staff meetings every week, and then our manager's like, we can use some work. We have some capacity in our lathe department, or mill department, or our EDM department, and it's just okay. Really? Well, what about this part? Oh, well, yeah. Now it's like once we get the schedule up in another month or so, then you're going to see it right in front of you.
Yeah, a lot of the times the shops get themselves into trouble just because they don't truly understand their capacity, and then they just promise something that was never even possible in the first place, right? So really understanding where your capacity is and when current jobs are going to be done or off certain machines, you're like, oh, I could go sell 50 hours worth of lathe work right in this week period. And, boom, you can fill that and know confidently you can deliver on time. And
in that regard is backlog, right? So previously my backlog numbers were never correct. They were overstated, and basically because we would ship partials, and so it didn't really get into dollars remaining, right? And I tweaked one of the queries, love those queries, to do that. So all active work orders, dollars remaining, and that gives me a pulse, right? It's like, okay, yeah, I know I've got like these shipments in December, so let's take that off the table to understand, where we need to be for the next few months. And we're like, okay, yeah, this is our backlog. Okay, you know what? We need some more backlog. What do we do, right? So
Sure.
it gives us an opportunity to look forward, for the next few months of like, okay, I think we need some more work here, or maybe we're overloaded and we need to buy some more equipment. So just that vision alone has been powerful for the last couple of weeks.
Sure. Have you discovered the sales dashboard? Is that where you're pulling some of those numbers, or a custom query?
Yeah. So with our migration,
that's always tricky.
There was a little bit of issue with that sales board in regards to like stuff being invoiced. It says it's invoiced, but then it wouldn't take it off the dashboard for some weird reason. So me and Malcolm were trying to fix it, and I think I've found a solution. I had to change those old work orders to completed.
Yeah.
And then it got it off the dashboard. Yeah, it took me a lot of trial and error. Figured it out. So those numbers now they're driving. Yeah,
nice.
Same number. So
good. So we need to start looking at wrapping up here. Just a couple other things. You mentioned you're sleeping better at night. Can you you've already probably elaborated some of the reasons why, but maybe more succinctly, just what's changed for you?
Yeah. So we're not a large company. We're not tiny either. And one of our core values behind me is teamwork, and everybody here is just awesome. Great employees, and teamwork's there. But I also, it's about having people that are focused on their roles, right? And unfortunately, when you don't have a system and process in place with software that kind of guide rails you there, um, people are doing things that they shouldn't be doing in regards to not that they shouldn't be doing, and it's wonderful they do it, but they drop the ball on what they're really supposed to be doing, right? And then it affects the business. And so many wonderful people here where okay, I'll help do this, right? And you help do this, but you're like, maybe you shouldn't be driving the forklift and doing this, right? Or little things like that, right? Where this is going to allow us to focus on our daily tasks on, like, what am I supposed to do, right? I've been spending, my role as a general manager, is to make sure everybody has the opportunity to successfully do their task and their job. But I also want to spend time with customers and sales. And it's been difficult for me to do that, but I now, in another month or two, I'm going to feel really comfortable about the shop, the management of it, the floor, being successful, quality, on-time delivery, that I can go spend more time on that. Oh, total tangent. That alley thing you guys added.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That, how many questions that saved me?
Oh, nice. I'm glad.
Right now, I'm like the ProShop guru for everything.
Yeah.
But, she just answers like every question, just like going to ChatGPT and asking something.
Pretty awesome.
It's so much easier than going through the help. Oh, it's been very helpful.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Of course. All right. So you're already starting to see a glimpse of how the shop will be running more seamlessly, autonomously, and you can go focus on working on the business, customers, sales, big strategic things, and less in the trenches every day. That's fantastic.
100%.
Last question before I ask how people can get a hold of you if they want to reach out. If you can, I know you're only so fresh into it, but just imagine if you had decided not to make the leap. You decided to hire a QMS guy instead to help to organize your QMS. What would you be doing today? What would you be faced with?
I would still have the issues about, the floor, right? In regards to getting information to the operators efficiently. That would not, with the current or the previous ERP, it just wouldn't address it. I'd have to go buy another little software to help out, but it would just be a bunch of Band-Aids. And, to be honest, I don't think I'd have a quality manual at this point. There was that much work to do to it. The QMS out of the box from ProShop is amazing. We purchased the starter package. Is that what it's
Flying
called?
Start. Yeah.
And Flying Start. And we have the consultant also. Very organized, let's tackle this, tackle that. I went through every procedure, every task, approved all of them. It took me months. And I maybe tweaked a couple of them. But barely. I basically added some pictures of things that we do differently. So we're ISO 9001 and 1345.
Nice.
And we have our follow-up audit, I think, in September. So we're working with Jess, and we have a plan. We're going to be done middle of August or so. And we're grinding through it, and it's so wonderful. I grab guys on the floor and I go on the screen and go, here's a procedure, guys. This is what we do. You put a IPC and it turns red. Yeah, I want you to fill out an NCR, and it's like 2 clicks here. It was a hole, and why you did it, and boom, it goes to the quality manager, and he can go, okay, let's figure out what to do. Put a red tag on it, put it on his shelf so that we can review it on the MRB meeting.
I love that.
Right, and so, oh my God, yeah, and then it brought up great questions. Guys are like, well, what if it's a setup piece, right? And I go, I go, that's a great question. You're gonna scrap a setup piece. Okay. That's why we buy extra parts, right? Or material. Um, and we decided as a team, we're like, yeah, let's put an NCR, put a red tag, and just say setup piece. So when we have our MRB meeting, okay, it was a setup piece, and we get it. What if he's scrapping 20 parts for setup? I mean, that could happen, and nobody knows. I mean, before, honestly, Paul, people they would put it in a scrap bin. How am I supposed to know? I don't even know how much scrap I'm making sometimes.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless managers are constantly monitoring, right? Or why are we short? Okay. Now it's like, it's so easy for the operator, right? And before it would be an NCR form on the S drive.
Well, that's where we started at the beginning of the episode. You were talking about, like, if you had to make an NCR, just people were like, oh, I didn't even want to open the drive and try to find the form and fill out the thing. And so we've kind of come full circle about how much easier that process has become now.
And traceability is huge, right? It just, for all our customers, traceability is big. And, we just went through a calibration of all our equipment, tagging, each piece of inspection equipment on the floor. And, during IPC, they pick which equipment they used.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, wow. So now I can, like, if we have a quality issue down the road, I can go see who the operator was, which caliber it was, and figure out, oh, is that caliber is not good? Or, was it the measurement? Right. It's like so easy to do that before. Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible.
And obviously for 1345, that is pretty crucial to know and to be able to track down. Really last question. You talked about the reason that you pulled this trigger was because of that customer and the audit you went through and the 3 major nonconformances. And now you're going to do your follow-up in a year in December. How are you feeling about going into that audit?
Extremely confident. The questions, the corrective actions, they're very detailed. It's like, this procedure, you need to do this one better, this one better, this one needs to be better. And then, I shared, the new procedures, and now it's under review with them, but everything's going according to plan. The one thing though, my wish list is like a more printable version of the procedures from the
Yes.
website. Oh my God. So it took me literally all weekend, because I was like, copy, put it in Word, because he was honest. It was like when I did the print versions and he was so excited that we did this, but the little black dot on a big white sheet of paper, right? So he's like,
yeah,
this is more professional looking.
Yes,
yeah. So
totally.
Should it be more professional looking than just because it doesn't print out right?
Right.
But, I made it work. So that would be really cool. Cause then, to be able to show it to customers, on screen is beautiful, but
right.
A lot of the guys, they want to print it out. So
yeah,
very minor thing, but that was cool.
Nope, I totally hear you. All right. Well, that sounds like that audit will almost be fun to do in the future. And like,
I'm excited. Yeah.
Wow them with the system. Well, cool. Well, Gioni, thank you so much for this. This has been really fun. If people want to reach out to you and learn more about end-to-end manufacturing, where do you suggest they reach out?
So our website is e2emfg.com. Yeah, that'd probably be the easiest.
And that's then the TO or the number 2?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the number 2.
MFG.com. Perfect. Yep. All right. Well, thank you for sharing this. I'm so excited to what you already shared and like sort of what's coming in the future for you. Being able to support, small family-run businesses like yourselves, just helping you sleep better at night. It just fills my heart. So I love it. And thanks for sharing your story today.
It's been an honor, and I would love to sync back up with you in a year or so because
we will do that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'll put it on my calendar to reach out, and we'll do a follow up at that point. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gioni.